The interview that changed everything. The glass doors of Cross Industries reflected the morning sun like a wall of fire. Jade Morrison stood outside, her hand trembling slightly as she gripped the worn strap of her purse. Beside her, Rosie tugged at her sleeve, her small voice cutting through the city noise. "Mommy, is this where you're going to work?" Jade looked down at her daughter, at those wide hazel eyes that held nothing but trust and hope. She adjusted the little girl's pink cardigan, smoothing down a stubborn curl that refused to stay in place. "Maybe, sweetheart. We'll see." The truth was more complicated. The childcare center had called that morning at 6:30. Their pipes burst, closed for the week. Jade had stared at her phone, calculating impossible math. Cancel the interview and lose the opportunity. Leave Rosie alone in their cramped efficiency apartment, or bring her daughter and hope for understanding. She had chosen door number 3. Now, standing in the polished lobby with marble columns reaching toward a cathedral ceiling, Jade wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. Security guards stood near the entrance, their eyes tracking her movement. A receptionist sat behind a curved desk that probably cost more than Jade's entire year's rent. "Can I help you?" The receptionist's voice was professional but cool. "I have a 10 o'clock interview. Jade Morrison, administrative coordinator position." The woman typed something into her computer, her perfectly manicured nails clicking against the keyboard. Her eyes flicked to Rosie, then back to her screen. "Take the elevator to the 15th floor. Someone from HR will meet you." The elevator ride felt like ascending into another universe. Rosie pressed her face against the glass wall, gasping at the view of the city shrinking below them. Jade tried to breathe, tried to remember the interview answers she had practiced in the mirror at 3 in the morning. She was a widow at 25. Her husband, Thomas, had died in a construction accident 2 years ago, leaving her with mounting medical bills, a toddler, and a half-finished associate's degree. She had worked 3 jobs since then, waitressing at a diner, cleaning offices at night, and doing data entry from home when Rosie finally slept. This job, this single opportunity, could change everything. The elevator doors opened to reveal a woman standing with her arms crossed, her expression already set in disapproval. She wore a navy suit that screamed authority and a name tag that read, Patricia Hollis, Senior HR Manager. "Ms. Morrison?" Patricia's eyes immediately dropped to Rosie. "I see you've brought a guest." Jade's spine straightened. "My childcare fell through this morning. I had no other option." "This is a professional environment, not a daycare facility." Patricia's voice could have frozen water. "Perhaps we should reschedule when you can make appropriate arrangements. I'm here now. I'm prepared. I have all my materials." Jade pulled out a folder, her portfolio of work samples, letters of recommendation from previous employers who had seen her dedication even when exhaustion dragged at her bones. Patricia sighed, the sound heavy with judgment. "Wait here." She disappeared. Down a hallway, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor like a countdown. Jade crouched down to Rosie's level, smoothing her daughter's hair. "I need you to be very good, okay? Very quiet. Can you do that for Mommy?" Rosie nodded solemnly, her little face serious. "I'll be a statue, Mommy." The quietest statue ever. Jade kissed her forehead, tasting salt from her own nervous sweat. Patricia returned, her expression even more pinched. "Come with me. But understand, this is highly irregular." They walked through an open office space where employees sat at sleek desks, multiple monitors glowing with spreadsheets and presentations. A few heads turned, eyes curious and some sympathetic, others merely calculating. Jade kept her chin up, her hand warm around Rosie's smaller one. The conference room was all glass and steel, a long table surrounded by expensive chairs. Patricia gestured toward one. "Sit. Wait here." Minutes dragged like hours. Rosie sat perfectly. Still, her little hands folded in her lap, her eyes darting around the room with wonder at the cityscape visible through the windows. Jade's heart ached with love and fear in equal measure. The door opened again, but it wasn't Patricia who entered. Man walked in, and the entire atmosphere shifted. He was tall, perhaps 6'2", with dark hair touched with silver at the temples despite his relatively young age. His suit was custom-tailored, his presence commanding without effort. His eyes, a striking gray blue, swept the room and landed on Jade and Rosie with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Miss Morrison?" His voice was deep, measured. "I'm Damian Cross." Jade's breath caught. Damian Cross, the CEO, the founder of Cross Industries, a man whose face appeared in business magazines, whose company had disrupted 3 industries in the past decade, a billionaire who supposedly never involved himself in hiring processes. She stood quickly, almost knocking over her chair. "Mr. Cross, I wasn't expecting. I happened to be in the building." He moved to the chair across from her, gesturing for her to sit. His eyes found Rosie. "And who's this?" "My daughter, Rosie. I apologize for bringing her. My childcare situation fell through this morning." "How old are you, Rosie?" Damian's voice softened slightly. 4.5, Rosie said proudly, holding up 4 fingers and trying to make a half with her thumb. The corner of Damian's mouth lifted, not quite a smile, but something close. He looked at Jade. "Tell me why you're here." "I applied for the administrative coordinator position. I saw the posting online, and the description mentioned opportunities for growth and internal training programs." "But why here? Why this company?" Jade took a breath. Honesty had always been her policy, even when it hurt. "Because I need stability. I'm a widow raising a child alone. I've been working multiple jobs, finishing my degree online, and trying to give my daughter a chance at something better than what I had. Your company has a reputation for promoting from within, for investing in employees. I can't offer you years of experience or fancy degrees yet, but I can offer you dedication, reliability, and a willingness to learn anything you need me to learn." Damian leaned back in his chair, his fingers steepled under his chin. His eyes never left hers, and Jade felt exposed, as if he could see every sleepless night, every skipped meal, every moment she had cried in the shower so Rosie wouldn't hear. "Tell me about your daughter's father." The question surprised her. "He died 2 years ago. Construction accident. He was building a hospital, ironically enough. A crane cable snapped." "I'm sorry." "Thank you." Jade's voice remained steady, though the wound still ached. "We had just started building our life together. He never got to see Rosie turn 3. Damian was quiet for a moment. Then he stood, walked to the window, his hands in his pockets. "When?" He spoke again. His voice carried a weight she hadn't heard before. "My father died when I was 10. Heart attack. Left my mother with 4 kids and a mountain of debt. She worked 3 jobs too. I watched her sacrifice everything so we could have a chance." Jade's breath caught. This wasn't a typical interview anymore. He turned back to face her. "The position you applied for starts at $60,000 a year. I'm offering you 70, with a review in 3 months. There's an on-site childcare facility on the 2nd floor, subsidized for employees. You'll report directly to Victor Hayes, our CFO, but I want monthly reports on your progress." Jade's vision blurred. Excuse me? You start Monday, 8:30. Bring Rosie, we'll get her registered downstairs." He extended his hand. "Welcome to Cross Industries, Ms. Morrison." Her hand found his, and the handshake was firm, warm, anchoring. "Thank you. You won't regret this." "I know." He looked down at Rosie. "Take care of your mom. She's pretty special." Rosie nodded seriously. "She's the most special." As Damian walked toward the door, Jade called out, "Mr. Cross, why? Why did you do this?" He paused, his hand on the door handle, and looked back at her with eyes that held decades of old pain and newly kindled hope. "Because someone once gave my mother a chance when everyone else saw only obstacles. She never forgot that kindness. Neither did I." The door closed behind him, and Jade sat down heavily, her legs suddenly unable to hold her. Rosie climbed into her lap. "Mommy, are you crying?" "Happy tears, baby. These are very, very happy tears." Outside the glass walls of the conference room, employees went about their business, unaware that something significant had just shifted in their universe. Patricia returned, her expression sour but professional, carrying paperwork for Jade to fill out. And somewhere in his top-floor office, Damian Cross stood at his window, looking out at the city he had conquered through sheer will and intelligence. and felt something he hadn't experienced in years, a connection, a recognition of shared struggle. And perhaps, though he barely admitted it to himself, the first stirring of something deeper. He pulled out his phone and sent a message to Victor Hayes. "The new hire, Jade Morrison. I want her mentored properly. She's going to do great things. Here." Then he added, almost as an afterthought, "And make sure the child care facility has everything it needs. Spare no expense." Monday morning arrived with sunshine and possibility, and Jade Morrison walked through those glass doors again, this time with confidence born from being seen, from being valued, from being given a chance when she needed it most. The interview had changed everything, but neither Jade nor Damien yet understood how profoundly their lives were about to intertwine, how the professional would become personal, and how two wounded souls would find healing in the most unexpected of places. When two worlds collide, Jade's first 3 weeks at Cross Industries passed in a blur of learning, adaptation, and cautious hope. She arrived early every morning, dropped Rosie at the bright, cheerful child care center on the 2nd floor, and threw herself into her work with an intensity that both impressed and exhausted her colleagues. Victor Hayes, the CFO, was a man of calculated precision and few words. He gave Jade assignments that tested her organizational skills, her attention to detail, and her ability to handle pressure. She exceeded every expectation, staying late when necessary, asking intelligent questions, and never once making excuses. But the office wasn't entirely welcoming. She only got the job because she brought her kid and played the sympathy card. Jade overheard one morning in the break room. The voice belonged to Monica, a woman in her 40s who had been with the company for a decade and clearly resented Jade's presence. "I heard Cross himself hired her. That never happens." What did she do to get his attention? Another voice, male, dripping with insinuation. Jade's hand froze on her coffee cup. She stood on the other side of the partition, invisible but hearing every word. The accusation stung not because it was true, but because people could look at her struggle and see manipulation instead of survival. She left without getting her coffee. That afternoon, as she compiled quarterly reports for Victor, Jade felt the weight of whispers following her through the office. People didn't say things to her face, but their eyes tracked her movements. Their conversations stopped when she approached, and their judgment hung in the air like humidity before a storm. She told herself it didn't matter. She was here to work, to provide for Rosie, to build something sustainable. She didn't need friends. She needed a paycheck, an opportunity. But it did matter. It mattered when she ate lunch alone every day. It mattered when team meetings fell silent as she entered. It mattered when she saw other mothers from the child care center chatting easily while she remained on the outside. On a Thursday evening, 3 weeks into her employment, everything fell apart. The call came at 4:30, just as Jade was finishing a complex budget analysis. The child care center. Rosie had a fever, 102 degrees, and needed to go home immediately. Jade's heart dropped. Victor was expecting the budget analysis by 5 for an early morning board meeting. She was almost finished, maybe 20 minutes of work remaining. She grabbed her phone, trying to think. There was no one to call, no family nearby, no friends she could impose upon. No emergency contacts except herself. She made a decision. Jade saved her work, sent Victor a quick email explaining the situation, and raced downstairs. Rosie sat in the nurse's office, her little face flushed, her eyes glassy with fever. Jade's maternal instincts overrode everything else. She scooped up her daughter, grabbed their things, and headed for the exit. In the lobby, she nearly collided with someone, Ms. Morrison. Damien Cross stood there, briefcase in hand, having just returned from some meeting. His eyes immediately assessed the situation, Jade's panicked expression, the sick child in her arms, the desperate energy radiating from her. "Rosie's sick. I have to take her home. I'm sorry. I sent Victor an email about the budget analysis. How sick?" Damien stepped closer, his hand reaching out to gently touch Rosie's forehead. The gesture was so natural, so instinctive that it caught Jade off guard. "Fever. 102. They called from downstairs. My driver is outside. Let me take you home." "Mr. Cross, you don't have to." "I know I don't have to. But standing here arguing while your daughter is sick seems counterproductive." Come on. His hand found the small of her back, gently guiding her toward the exit. The touch was brief, professional, but Jade felt it like electricity through her thin blouse. The car was a sleek black sedan with leather interior that probably cost more than Jade's entire apartment. Damien helped her inside, instructed his driver with quiet authority, and settled into the seat beside her. Rosie whimpered, her small body hot against Jade's chest. "Hey, Rosie," Damien said softly. "Remember me?" The little girl nodded weakly. "You're going to feel better soon. Your mom's going to take good care of you." They rode in silence through rush hour traffic. Jade gave the driver her address, feeling embarrassment creep up her neck as she directed him to a neighborhood that grew progressively less affluent with each turn. The building where she lived was old, the paint peeling, bars on the first-floor windows. Jade saw Damien take it in without comment, his expression neutral but his eyes missing nothing. "Let me help you upstairs," he said as the car stopped. "Really, I can manage." "Jade." It was the first time he had used her first name. "Let me help." He carried her bags while she carried Rosie up 3 flights of stairs to her small efficiency apartment. Jade unlocked the door, acutely aware of what he would see: the couch that doubled as her bed, the tiny kitchen with its ancient appliances, the single bedroom barely large enough for Rosie's toddler bed and small dresser. But when Damien entered, his expression showed no judgment, only focused concern. "Where do you keep her medicine?" "Cabinet above the sink." He found the children's fever reducer, read the dosage instructions, and handed Jade the medicine and a glass of water. His movements were efficient, calm, as if helping sick children was something he did regularly. Jade got Rosie changed into pajamas, gave her the medicine, and settled her into bed with her favorite stuffed elephant. Within minutes, the exhausted little girl was asleep. When Jade returned to the main room, Damien stood by the small window, looking out at the city. He had removed his suit jacket, and his shirt sleeves were rolled to his elbows. In her tiny apartment, he seemed larger than life, his presence filling every corner. "Thank you," Jade said quietly. "You didn't have to do any of this. I wanted to." He turned to face her, and something in his expression made her breath catch. "Sit down, Jade. You look like you're about to collapse." She sank onto the couch, suddenly aware of how exhausted she was. Damien sat beside her, maintaining a respectful distance but close enough that she could feel his warmth. "You don't have to explain," he said, "but I want to understand. Why are you here, in this place?" Jade looked around her apartment, seeing it through his eyes. "Because it's what I can afford. After Thomas died, there were medical bills, funeral, costs, and suddenly I was alone with a toddler and no real job skills. I was 19 when we got married, dropped out of community college when I got pregnant. Everything I've built since then has been survival, not strategy. You're finishing your degree now. Online. At night, when Rosie's asleep." She met his eyes. "I know what people at the office are saying. That I manipulated you. Used my daughter to get sympathy. People are idiots." The blunt response startled a laugh out of her. "Mr. Cross, Damien. When we're not at the office, it's Damien." "Damien," she repeated, the name feeling strange and intimate on her tongue. "Why did you really hire me? And don't say it's because of your mother. There has to be more." He was quiet for a long moment, his jaw working as if deciding how much to reveal. "When I was 17, my youngest sister got pregnant. She was 15. The father disappeared. My mother was already working herself to death. I was in my first year of college on a full scholarship, and I watched my sister's whole life narrow down to impossible choices." Jade waited, sensing there was more. "She kept the baby, a little girl. She finished high school through night classes while I paid for childcare from my part-time job. She's 30 now, with 2 more kids and a master's degree. Her daughter just started college herself. You paid for all of it. I did, because someone needed to bet on her when everyone else saw only a statistic, a cautionary tale, a girl who made a mistake." He looked at Jade with intensity that made her heart race. "When I saw you standing in that lobby, holding your daughter's hand and refusing to apologize for needing a chance. I saw my sister. I saw my mother. I saw every woman who's been told she can't have both ambition and family, that choosing to be a mother means forfeiting everything else. Tears burned in Jade's eyes. I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep fighting. Keep showing up. His hand reached out, hesitated, then gently touched her shoulder. You're stronger than you know. The touch lingered, and Jade felt something shift between them, some barrier dissolving. This wasn't just employer and employee anymore. This was two people who had survived impossible circumstances, who understood the cost of resilience, who recognized in each other a kindred spirit. I should go, Damien said, but he didn't move. You should, Jade agreed, but she didn't want him to. They sat there in the dimming light of her small apartment, the city humming outside, Rosie breathing softly in the next room, and between them, something delicate and powerful beginning to grow. Finally, Damien stood. Call me if you need anything. Rosie doesn't get better, you need a day off, whatever, my personal number. He handed her a business card with a handwritten number on the back. I can't keep asking for special treatment. You're not asking, I'm offering. There's a difference. At the door, he paused. Jade, the budget analysis you were working on. I saw it before I left. Vic showed me. You found 3 areas of inefficiency that could save us $500,000 annually. That's not sympathy hiring. That's you being exceptionally good at what you do. He left before she could respond, his footsteps echoing down the stairwell. Jade stood in her doorway, holding his business card, her heart racing, her mind spinning. She checked on Rosie, found her sleeping peacefully, fever already starting to break from the medicine. Then she sat on her couch in the darkness and cried. Not from sadness, but from the overwhelming relief of being seen, of being valued, of no longer feeling completely alone in the world. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Get some rest. Monday can wait. She saved the number as simply Damien and held the phone against her chest. Outside, in the back of his car, Damien Cross stared out at the city he had conquered, but never quite felt at home in, and wondered when exactly his interest in Jade Morrison had shifted from professional respect to something far more complicated and infinitely more dangerous. He had built an empire by maintaining emotional distance, by never letting feelings cloud judgment. But sitting in that tiny apartment, watching Jade mother her sick daughter with such tender ferocity, seeing the strength it took to keep going when everything was stacked against her, he was in trouble. The best kind of trouble. And for the first time in years, Damien Cross was willing to risk everything he had built for something he hadn't even known he was missing. A family, a home, a love worth fighting for. The story was just beginning. Retry.